What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday night. Welcome to another edition of the Saturday Night Mailbag Show, where I've brought on one half of the Allgrass Trade Show. I've brought on one, Ty DeClaire. Ty, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing well, man. We got air horns in the building. We got people in the chat. We got a creepy thumbnail of me. It's going to be a good night, Brandon. Let's go.
Yeah, man. It's going to be fun. So make sure you drop your questions over there in the chat. We're going to try to get to as many as we possibly can. We'll be here for 60 minutes, so we're going to have some fun. We got some questions that have come from our Discord, patreon.com/allgas or ddfantasyfootball.com. Make sure you sign up because we'll continue the conversations that we have here in the Mailbag Show over there. We'll go in depth a little bit further. And Ty, did you know that we have a game day conversation chat? Like literally the thing is blowing up right now. There's multiple preseason games on right now, and it is absolutely blowing up. It is one giant overreaction channel. So like, I forget who it was this afternoon, but people were just going nuts over them. So make sure you tap in over there. Make sure you're paying, you jump in, continue the conversations. But we're going to start off tonight, Ty, with an opening question that I think probably we could have some good dialogue and conversation on. So Ty, how are you managing all of this training camp and preseason buzz to add value to your fantasy squads?
Adding value. Interesting question. And yeah, if you want your XP on Discord to go up, just participate in the game day chat because that's the easiest way to do that if you care about that. Yeah, preseason, man. Like it's balancing what's real and what's not, right? Because I see a lot of steam, a lot of excitement, a lot of reaction because there's football happening on the field. And I enjoy this excitement. I want people to be excited because we've been waiting so long for football, and we have guys that we've held on to and we like and we made bet on. And hey, if they look good, that makes you feel good. But we also got to remember this is very like low install offenses and defenses. There's no real game planning against the other team. It's not the starters. Like it's not just because someone looks good in preseason, that's not a prerequisite to say that he is going to smash in season or that it's even going to look anything like this once we get to week 1. So what I want to do is I want to make sure I'm making the right bets with the right players. And I'm thinking specifically, Brandon, those guys we take in the 3rd round, the 4th round of our rookie drafts, those guys we pick up off waivers that spike, right? I'm thinking like the Teslas, right? Those kind of guys is people are excited right now, but the reality is they're probably not going to be fantasy producers for us in 2025. And if they are, maybe it's late, or you can probably find a way to buy back into them when they actually do pop. So what I like to do with those guys, it's going to be hard to ISO sell someone like that for a 3rd. And people say, oh, I'll just wait till I can get a 2nd. Well, what I want to do then is I want to try to put them in a deal with something else and try to get credit for that player of what valuation I'm trying to get. So let's say I have Jacoski Merritt, whatever, JCM, whatever acronym that one is, right? I want to get a 2nd out of him. Okay, well, what can I pair him with? And then what move can I make with that package deal versus trying just to ISO sell the one thing? You know what I mean? I think I don't want to just try to ISO sell those things. And I also don't want to take those, like the Ashton Genties, like our 1st round players, the ones we've made these kind of longer term and we're feeling a certain way about them. I don't want to sell that after one preseason game. I want to take that baggage into season, wait for the real stuff, wait for the real conviction to come up before I try to move some of those guys. So all in all, I want to try to make some moves to get some value. I want to get a little more flexible for the in-season time, pay out some of those things. I guess from like a stock idea, right? It's just taking a little bit off the top once you've made a profit and then you're playing with house money. But really, I want to stay as flexible as I can and just enjoy the excitement because we waited a long damn time for football to come.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on all of this. There was a lot of conversation this week or this weekend, right? Where people within inside of our Discord, we were having conversations and we were talking about guys like Shedeur Sanders and guys like Jackson Dart, where, how do you feel after this? And everybody felt really good. And I'm like, let's just also kind of pause with with where they are, right? Like this is week 1. They're just checking boxes, right? They're not like the way I looked at Shedeur's performance and the way I looked at Jackson Dart's performance. And I'm a Giants fan. Like they checked the box. They went out there. They did what the coaches asked them to do and they performed. Now, does that turn into more opportunity? We'll have to see this week. One guy that I would maybe ask the question, because I asked the question this afternoon, Ty, what are you doing with Travion Henderson? Because I don't know if you've seen some of the packages that are coming in on Big Hendo. Like, and I saw you guys. I watched the All Gas Trade Show this morning with Ray. So make sure once you're done here, you go tap into that or go listen to it all wherever you get your podcasts. Yeah. There was some very interesting deals, and there have been some very interesting deals with Big Hendo to the point where, like, I saw a deal this afternoon on Dynasty Deal. Shout out to Jeremy and his team. Like, it was like Derrick Henry and a first round pick and a couple other picks just for Hendo straight up.
Yeah.
Like, is there, I guess maybe the secondary to the opening question is there a price point in which you have to, like, yeah, Big Diaz wants to hold to the moon, but is there a point where you can say, like, this is actually worth it, right? Like, this is actually worth hitting the ejecto seat and actually taking the profit, like more than enough profit. Like, you hit Apple at $10 and it's already at 200. Like, when do you say, okay, I'm good?
Right. Right. Like, Hendo has one kick return and it's already up 2 rounds and underdog. You know what I mean? Like, yes, like I'm looking at Dynasty Daddy right now. Yeah. Shouts out to Jeremy, like best tools in the game. Yeah. If I get Derrick Henry, a 27 first, a 26 second, a 26 third, and Marvin Mims in my inbox for Hendo, what I want to think is how many other teams in my league can actually offer me a package like this? Right. And if it's very few, then I know that I'm looking at one of the main times that I can actually click that button and get out on something. If it's an offer that I don't need to accept today, that I can expect to get down the road, I don't need to take that today. Right. But if someone comes correct with a running back who's probably going to score more points and a first and a second, and like, and, then I'm not going to look the gift horse in the mouth. But that's why I also like playing from a portfolio perspective, right? And having a multitude of leagues. I'm in 29 leagues now, I think. If I don't know if that includes redraft, but I'm in high 20s of leagues. So now I can really start to play that a bit more where before I couldn't. So I'll feel better. I think the tough part of that question, Brandon, is when do you do that if he's your only share or you only have one league? How do you let go of that guy that you've had excitement for and you have me, your little baby child on your team? I think in that, again, you have to look and say, is this the best offer I'm going to get? How many other teams can actually offer a package like this? And yeah, so again, are you going to kick yourself if you let this one go? Is it going to be the one that got away? I'll tell you what, man. I am excited for what I can do with that Hendo right now, though. And really all these running backs, and that's what I'm so excited for, just more of the steam to build on these guys.
Yeah, and that's the one that I had to ask the question, right? Because he had one kickoff return, three total touches for 30 yards, and everybody's like way in there. Like, I can only imagine
6 to midnight.
I'm gonna say wake up chat on Monday morning is going to be very interesting.
Oh yeah.
Very interesting. And I'm sure that our friend Jordan Richards is going to be extremely excited and extremely over the moon Monday morning. But enough of the that's a good opening question. Let's jump into some of the questions that our friends have here. Make sure you drop your questions in the chat. We're going to try to get to as many of them as possible. But I'm going to go to kick this one from JJ Dynamite. He asked inside the Discord, Ty, name your 3 players you're all in for on the 2025 season and why, but then also, who are the 3 players you're completely out on? Who are you flag planting on for this 2025 season?
Well, here, I'm going to run over to Dynasty Daddy. I'm going to pull up the fantasy profile to bring up all my players. So let's just read. Let's go through my top players, and that'll be probably whom I'm planted on. And at the very top, no surprise, Trey McBride, 31% exposure right now to Trey McBride. I'm really excited for Trey McBride because, Brad, I've been in a lot of startups this offseason, and we see Bowers go at the top, and then there's McBride in this little middle part between where everyone else is and where McBride goes, or where Bowers goes. And I'm just, even every time I look at that, I have a hard time not pressing the button on McBride because I think he has similar weekly outcome. Hell, he had similar scoring to Bowers, and we were losing our minds on Bowers. And he only had 2 touchdowns all year, if my math is correct. I mean, the upside, if Arizona can figure it out, if Kyler can take a step forward, if the whole offense takes a step forward, that's good for Trey McBride. So I'm really excited for Trey McBride, and I think the numbers speak for themselves. Number 2 player in Dynasty, the Canadian King, Chuba Hubbard. I got 8 shares of him. I think Chuba is just one of those guys who he's shown us that with opportunity, he will produce. He will give us fantasy points, and Carolina can use him. I think that's an offense that can take a step forward. We see Bryce Young putting dimes in front of Ted Aurora McMillan. And if that offense takes a step forward, imagine what Chuba Hubbard can do with some more open running lanes, maybe some less packed boxes, some more red zone opportunities. I'm really excited for what Chuba could do this year as well. I mean, I'm not going to talk about Terry McLaurin. We all know the Terry McLaurin story for right now. Hell, I got 7 shares of Pop Douglas, and if I'm a betting man, yep, those are all in best ball. So I think for a best ball flag plant, I think Pop Douglas, again, what offense can take a step forward? I think that's a good way to kind of look at it. I think New England could also take a step forward, and there is opportunity abound in the wide receiver room for the Patriots. So I think Pop Douglas could again be I think his opportunity could take a step forward. But a lot of Trinity guys as I'm looking at this.
I was going to say, I feel like you're a guy that follows the Trinity quite a bit. So when you're saying you're flag planted on guys, there's data behind the reasons why you're flag planting on those guys, right? Trey and Pop, those are guys that clearly stand out very highly in the Trinity. If you don't know what Trinity is, make sure you go to ddfantasyfootball.com, use the link below, and sign up for a subscription. I'm telling you, the Trinity tool. Ray just dropped another video about wide receiver usage this morning with Xworthy. Trust me, it is a tool in season. It's a tool right now that you can utilize to start planting some flags, but it's really an in-season tool. When you talk and ask Ty questions over on the All Gas Trade Show, like, Ty, what should I do? Should I trade for this guy? I guarantee you the first thing Ty is looking at is the Trinity score. Guaranteed. Absolutely. So who are a couple guys that you're just like, you know what, B, I'm not feeling this guy for the 2025 season.
Yeah, and that's like a bit of a harder question for me because I feel like I'm a bit of an optimist. I like to see the good in things. I like to, I don't like looking from a pessimism standpoint. I mean, I'll give you one out the bat, and anyone who knows me knows what this answer is. It's James Cook. From an analytical lens, like I just don't think that the touchdown to actual production ratio is going to stay the way it is, even though he could be the only ticket in town in that backfield in Buffalo, I guess, except for Josh Allen. I just don't want to buy into the James Cook price or just that. I just don't want to do it. I don't have a good reason why. I just don't. I have 0 shares in Dynasty, and I'm probably just going to keep it that way, Brandon. Honestly, if I miss, I miss. I just don't want to bet on that guy. That could just be my blind spot, and I will happily admit that. I think another one. Let's see. I'd say DJ Moore. I only got 1 share of DJ Moore. We kind of talked about. I'm sure it's been talked about on the Mailbag. We've talked about on multiple DD shows, right? It's just, I mean, how's the temperature check on that Chicago offense feeling right now?
Not good.
Yeah, not
good
great.
Right now. Not great. Not good.
Not great. DJ Moore. I mean, I remember listening to old Josh Larkey back in the day, and he was doing the DJ Moore breakdown of just how he's just an awesome profile, and I think that's true. He's a good receiver, but I think that's just what he is. I think he's good, right? And I think we probably see an ascension from Rome Odunze. I think it's the additions of Luther Burden, of Colston Loveland. I just don't know how that's going to shake out. I think DJ Moore is one of those guys that at the price you have to push the button at, I'm just going to fade it. I'm just going to let it go by. So I think DJ Moore, just at price, I'm not really interested in. And hell, I'll stick with that same offense. I mean, Caleb Williams, I like Caleb. I spent a lot of 101s on Caleb, in that year. But at the same time, I'm not clicking on Caleb in the second round of startup right now. Again, I'm thinking dynasty wise, I'm not clicking him in the second round. That hasn't shown me enough, and I can get Purdy, I can get Dak, Goff 3-4 rounds cheaper, right? I think where you have to press the button on Caleb, that's not how I want to spend that. If I miss, I miss. But I'm just not excited about the Chicago offense right now, Brandon. I'm just not.
All right, it's not easy to give up. Like when you're playing 29 leagues, it's not easy to say, hey, there's 3 guys that just not out. Like,
yeah, right.
It's really hard, honestly. And it's not a knock on these guys. It's not a knock on these players. They're very talented players. It's just where they're coming in at cost is really what I hear from you. So
Yeah, and I clearly have reasons why I really like people, but I think the thing just comes, it's just cost, right? Like, what does it actually cost to get into these things? And yeah.
All right. Here's another question. I'm gonna hide this one. Let's go to this one here from T-Masker 5405. And it kind of stays in the same trade theory.
Mhm.
Ty, how do you typically try to use your first in season as a contender? There's always you spend it early because you want to tier up and you want to get into, maybe you want to take that AJ Brown in a first and go get that Malik Neighbors. Or do you want to maybe utilize it later on in the season when you're closer to contention? You kind of have a clearer picture and try to maybe shore up for death. And then what is your strategy too if you don't have your first? Because that's something that a lot of people come across. They don't have their first. They spent it. Their team flopped, and now all of a sudden they've got to try to get it back, but they know it's going to be a little bit harder. What are maybe some creative ways?
Yeah.
So I know it's like a 14-point question right there.
That's all right. We got an hour, I'm sure, right? I'll start with that last point. So if I don't have my first, I am personally a stubborn person. I will look at a team that clearly is not suited to win, that doesn't have its first, and I say, damn it, I am not going to spend any more capital on this, but I'm going to do my damnness to win with this team. So I am one guy. If I can't find a deal that works to get that first back, I'll just run it forward, try to make that pick as worse as possible, give myself a shot at winning. But Brandon, when you try to go and get your first back, that's a hefty price sometimes, right? Like especially if your team is not looking good and you're trying to get that first back, it's going to take probably a top 20 asset in Dynasty to get it back. And at that point, you really got to consider, like, is it worth it to make that swap? So yeah, I don't like being in those situations. I do personally like to carry my first forward, especially in these no trade deadline leagues. And we play in a lot of those. I like having that first in the back pocket. I like having those seconds, those thirds as well in the back pocket. Because we don't know how this is really going to shake out in week one. Hell, for the first 4 weeks, 5 weeks of the season, we are going to be scrambling, trying to put the puzzle pieces together. And that's where tools like the Trinity, tools like the War Tool, that's where that really helps to hone in on what's actually happening and what's real, what's fake. But yeah, by the time we get to bye week season, I'm probably going to have a reason to want to spend one of those things. By the time we get to week 14, I'm going to know one way or the other what I want to do with that first. And guess what teams want to do later in the season, Brandon, when they know either they're out or they want to kick it to the future? They want those first, and they are willing to do things with them. So what I want to do is, it depends on the team, right? If I have a team where it's good, it's going towards the playoffs, but I need a little more weekly contributors. I need to split something to really feel like I'm thinking even more best ball, right? I need to split something. I want to take that first. I want to get 2 starting pieces. Right? I want to get 2 veterans. I don't want to get 2 dead end things if I can help it. Right. I want to get maybe one piece that has a little bit of hope with it, and then another piece of a pure roster construction thing. And I do want to try to address my needs. I also find, Brandon, is if my quarterback room is not, if I don't see the path to fixing my quarterback room, I'm a lot more hesitant to move that first. Right? I usually want to use my first to make sure my quarterback room is good and also hopefully fix something else up. So if I can take a deal where I get Sam Darnold, and then maybe I can go and get Chuba Hubbard, I'll use my first. I might have to add in a flashy name, some beans to get that deal done. But at least in that way, I've split my first into 2 things. One, Chuba that I'm betting is going to bust in my line. Oh, pause. Do well in my lineup. Yeah, big pause. Record scratch. And then Sam Darnold, who, if he's still a starting quarterback at this point, can fit in that quarterback 2 spot. I do have some teams though, Brad. I have moved that first. And those are the teams that look good on paper right now. And I'm trying to spruce it up even better. I'm looking at Dynasty. See, there's only 1 or 2 other teams that are really set up to compete against me. Let's climb the ladder. All right. Let's use that first with something and try to go up into the elite tier. So depends on your team, depends on the time of year, but that's a good question. I want to know, what do you, because you are a volume trader, Brandon, and you are very good at leaning your teams into a direction. So what do you usually do with your first?
It honestly really depends on a lot of the teams. I mean, I've typically been a team that's, feels like perpetually on just the donation at times. So I do have to kind of keep that first. But one thing that I'd really do like to do, and I know Scott hinted about this last week, right? When we talked about grinding edges and really trying to find like value. What I'm doing this week is after a week one is I'm assessing all of the different pieces that I have. And I'm going to start trying on all of the team guys that are like later on. So like the Ja'Cory Krosky Merritts, those types of players where I got them in the thirds and the fourth. Like I am trying to package them up and trying to look at teams that have been completely like, and I've seen this a lot. And I'm sure Ty, you've come across this. Like there are teams that literally look like the same thing from January 27th.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have not touched some folks have not touched their squads. They've got complete zeros. They were running all in on Jamison Crowder types, and they've got like 5 or 6 zeros. And they're like, crap, well, now what am I going to do? Now, who am I going to put in those positions? Because especially in best ball, like you don't want to be sitting on all those zeros. So what am I doing right now? Hey, you want this Krosky, you want this JCM, you want this, trying to think of another guy that's like just way down the board, right? That just they're playing well. Maybe there's or even maybe it's a Jackson Dart. If I have an excess, like I know in one league I have Cam Ward, JJ McCarthy, Jackson Dart, Tyler Shuck. Maybe I'm looking to move a Dart or a Shuck, and I'm just trying to get like that future first, right? Am I probably selling a little bit short? Yeah. But you know what I am doing is I'm collecting all of those additional assets so that when the time comes, I can make the decision. If the team still is decent, I can lean in and I can use those first instead of having to use my own first, which means I don't have to pay my league dues for next year. But because somebody else already had to, let them do it, right? Yeah. Or I can sit on those draft picks and I can wait until the next offseason. I can wait till the cycle of the offseason and I can say, okay, you know what? Now I've got 5 seconds, 3/3, 6/4, and a bunch of fits. And you know what? If I got to reset everything, then so be it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like I'm always actively looking. Like that is kind of how I use it when I'm trying to not compete. I just want to shed all of those pieces. And I'm just going to keep picking up because you know what's going to happen is the guys like Jamison Crowders and the Amari Coopers of the world are all going to come back in the next 6 to 8 weeks. Mm-hmm. And those are the guys that I'm going to go scoop back up with the fab, or the guys that they start cutting. I'm going to start scooping them all back up because you know what they're going to need? They're going to need those bodies and they're going to be willing to pay those assets. And when you don't have a third and you only have a second and you're like, do I really want to pay that second for 2 weeks of production for Keenan Allen? I don't really know. I don't know if I really want to do that. People do some crazy things at the end, especially in these no trade deadline leagues. They will do some crazy things at the end where you're just like, did they really just trade a first round pick for a 33-year-old wide receiver like Cooper Kupp? Yes, they did.
They did.
And then you're just like, but right now, if I ask the chat, what can I get for Cooper Kupp right now? What is the draft pick value that I can get for Cooper Kupp right now? I'm going to go out on a limb and say like the median's probably like 207, 208. Right? Like nobody's giving up early second right now for Cooper Kupp. It's Sean's saying a third. All right. Like that's low ball. All right. That's a little low balling, but you get the point is that like Cooper Kupp is just not a desirable asset right this second. But you know what can happen is if he links up with Sam Darnold and has 3 or 4 games in a row where he's 5 or 6 catches for 75 yards and has about a touchdown and is coming in at like a wide receiver 17 on the season, you know what people are going to end up paying? A lot more than that 3rd round pick. Like,
can I put your feet to the fire for a hot second?
Sure.
Cooper Kupp or Joe Mixon? I'm looking at a trade on Dynasty that he went down 3 days ago.
I'm going to take Cooper Kupp because Joe Mixon's still hurt. But I get the point. But you get the point, right? Like he is
That's what we're talking about.
He is that far down. But you know what happened 2 years ago? And I remember this vividly. Keenan Allen was literally like a corpse. Nobody wanted him. And then all of a sudden he started balling out with Justin Herbert. And we had conversations around, is he going to be worth a first? Do I have to trade a first for Keenan Allen? You know what's going to end up happening again is people are going to be trading even more than a first for Devontae Adams when Matt Stafford and him are balling out.
Man. But we talked about on whole position this year too, man.
But Ty, he's a 30-year-old wide receiver. I can't be trading first for 30-year-old wide receivers.
Man, people were doing that in week 1 last year too. Like early season 2024, people were moving first for Kupp after he started hot. Like it happens. Like we've seen it happen, and especially as the year goes on, people do wild stuff. So the little game plan is take these transitional players, move them for picks, keep that flexibility on your roster, pick more up, and just keep going. Just keep the conveyor belt moving. And yeah, if you're active, if you're diligent, if you're going to do that, you can really find some value there.
Let's get to a few questions that we got going on in the chat. I know the chat has been they've been talking up a storm over there, and I want to make sure that we stay true to them, Ty. So Tyjae Spears got hurt this evening. Is he droppable in Dynasty?
And best ball. Do we have any info on what he was carted to the locker room?
I didn't see much before we jumped on. Apparently he hobbled to it, and then they just took him on the cart and he kept going, and he went on the cart and moved on. Maybe chat can give us something. They don't know. I'm seeing no. So let's just say Tyjae Spears does not start week 1, Ty. Let's say whatever injury he has, he's out for let's just say 4 to 6 weeks. So he's not available for week 1. He's probably coming back for a couple. Let's just say he's back by like week 2, week 3.
It's not really a drop. I don't think he's droppable. I think Sean nailed it, right? Best ball, maybe. That's what I was thinking, right? Is if he's going to miss significant time, he was already kind of like a fringe level of the cutoff line of where I want my running backs to be on a best ball squad, right? I don't want to be rostering any running back on a 53 on a best ball squad. I want top 40, top 50 and above, right? And Tyjae is probably in that gray zone there. So if he was to miss significant time, I would probably try to do whatever I can with that Spears to get him off my roster. But we're talking like lineup, man. Like, yeah, I'll just toss him in the IR. He'll come back. And like, here's the thing. It's Pollard, and then that's it. Like, I'm not really scared by anything else in that backfield. So I'm assuming once he's healthy, he will just have his role again as Tyjae Spears, and he'll probably get hurt again. But hey, I'll have him, right? So no, I don't think he's droppable, but you got to have a plan, and it has to fit with actually what your league format is.
All right, saying this, somebody E-Will is saying it sounds like a high ankle.
I'm not touching him in redraft if that.
No, I'm not touching him. A high ankle, yeah, I'm out on redraft. I'm good on redraft, but in terms of Dynasty, I'm not out. Like at the end of the day, like he's going to come back, and if he comes back, he's going to do something to some degree. I mean,
what Anahola said there too. Super duper short benches, maybe, right? And yeah, if there's a comparable running back on the waiver wire with 2 functioning ankles, and I'm just gonna like that. Yes, I would drop him in that sense, but we'd have to be talking like 10 bench, start 10, something like that, right? Like that would be a little tough to fit him on the roster still. Oh, you're muted, big dog.
I'm thinking like Rumble, right? Where it's like 14 by 11 with 25 man total rosters, and we only have like 12, 13 bench spots. Running back, yeah, has the
roster.
It does have really the PPC, but at the same time, like it may be a spot, right? On the flip side, you buy him more Pollard because there is right because of Tyjae Spears not being there or not being healthy. The only real other running back they have is rookie Khalil Millins, which he's more of a plotter back. He's not really he's not a Tyjae Spears back. So that means that Pollard probably ends up being a little bit more used on the 2-minute drill. Would you be in on more Pollard? If so, what's like the price point that you're like, yeah, I want to do that? Yeah,
I mean, I've spent a second on worse than Tony Pollard, right? I think on the right team, I would probably spend a second for Pollard. If I get a couple starts out of him, that's worth it. End of the day for a second. I don't really want to give him anything real significant. Like, let's be honest, he's still Tony Pollard. Like, he's a good roster construction running back. It's not something that I'm acquiring to think that I can flip for more, right? It's purely what can he do for me? It's a 1-year bet. And the bet looks better because there's a little more clarity of maybe what that looks like early season. And we hope that continues into the season, but we could be at a spot, Brandon, 3 weeks from now where Pollard is hurt as well. Right. And oh, well, there goes my second. That's one arm tied behind my back going into the season. So I'm not like itching to go get more, but I would be willing to get like a second's worth of value. Ideally, can I take Isaac Tesla and a third and go and get that Pollard? Take a third, take a flashy name and get it that way versus actually sending the second, but try to get credit for about a second's worth of value.
Yeah. Can I take JCM, assuming he's not concussed, and the third, right? Somebody's going to believe that he's got a role right now, even though he probably is the backup to Austin Eckler. So you're just waiting for Austin Eckler to get like his 19th concussion. in order for that to probably happen, or he rolls his ankle for the 9,000th time. One of those two injuries. So, but yeah, I mean, somebody will believe. Injuries upon injuries. You ready for it? Oh, listen, I think I heard the other night on Mannequin Show, like, the season's only a few short weeks around. And then it's like, we spend all this time talking about football, right? And it's like for 3.5 months, we get locked in. And every single week, it's the injury landmine season where we're just literally dodging them left and right. So yeah, we're ready for it. And you're right, Silence. It's just the beginning of it all.
I feel like we should have like a BetterHelp sponsorship. Like, hey, did your cornerstone dynasty piece get injured? Here's BetterHelp. Like we might be able to offer some services. Maybe that's a new spot for the tool, or for the website. Add like a counseling option.
Yeah, we need to find a legit like DD counselor where you could just click in. It's like telehealth, and there's just somebody. It's just myself or yourself on the other side. So how's your team doing? Terrible. Well, sorry, but hey, there's more hope here.
I mean, fun fact for the mailbag, I actually have a counseling diploma. So
hey, see, there you go. So
there you go.
Ty DeClaire could be your dynasty counselor for the low price of whatever his rate is in Canadian.
Yeah, we'll hold some group therapy sessions in the Discord.
Here we go. Hey, Ty, what backup quarterbacks are you most interested in rostering? We've had this. I feel like we've talked about this inside the Discord on Friday morning drives with Shane. If you're, again, I can't plug all of our stuff more than enough. Like, for no other reason, Shane Vanilla on Mondays and Friday mornings in season for about 40 minutes driving through Philly traffic is worth the price of admission alone.
Oh, yeah.
Worth the price of admission. like from fantasy takes to Philly takes to Shane takes.
Yeah.
It's second to none. But we did discuss this question, I want to say, at some point earlier in the offseason where we talked about backup quarterbacks, right? And Scott is the kind of like the pioneer of, any quarterback, any two deep, that whole strategy, whatever it is. He's got so many different strategies. I can't remember them all, but he's talked about backup quarterbacks and rostering them. So which ones, Ty, are you the most interested in?
Yeah, Scott shaved his beard. Like, don't be surprised. I'm not Scott, but yeah, I mean, obvious answers are probably what Daniel Jones, maybe a Tyler Shuck if you consider him the backup right now, or like those like 50-50 quarterback rooms. Those are the obvious answers, but we already kind of know that. I mean, this is kind of like a step down from that, but I would probably say Kirk Cousins, man, because if something does happen with Kirk Cousins, that's going to be real, right? Like, it's either he gets traded to a team that can take on the contract and like they are going to do something with that Kirk Cousins, or something happens in front of Cousins and he is now a starting quarterback again. So I think I like Cousins because I know what that bet is. And if he does get in, I bet that he will actually be a top 20 quarterback on a week. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. So yeah, I'll say Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I like the Kirk Cousins one. How do you feel about Jameis?
He didn't look too great today, did he?
It did look that great.
No.
But he's going to be the backup all season long, right? Yeah. Like, I know everybody will talk about Jackson Dart, but I'm going to tell you right now, the Giants are going to have Russ Wilson and Jameis start and dress every single week. And Dart will be the emergency quarterback. So do not panic week one if Jackson Dart is the emergency quarterback on week one.
Yeah.
Because because the reality is if Russ goes down, Jameis is stepping in. So like, we're going to ride the horse to greatness. We're going to eat the W's. We're going to do all of that. It's going to be Russ and Jameis in there. So you're out on Russ.
I agree with Sean here as well. Someone Browning, Mac Jones. I agree with that. And that the choices are based on systems, not like absolutely. I think that's where, like, hey, if I'm gonna say that I'm kind of like wary on the Chicago offense, maybe I should like hedge my bet there and say Tyler Bagent. If something does happen with Caleb, it doesn't work. If something happens, then Bagent can maybe come and at least run the offense. Like, sure, okay, we'll go with that, right?
How about Jimmy G?
Jimmy G. Oh, talk to Diaz about Jimmy G. Man.
I mean, I know Niner fans do not like the medicine ball of Jimmy G. Even Raider fans are, a little skeptical. But like we've there's been at length discussion about Matthew Stafford and his back. That's where we're gonna stop. But Yes, he's healthy and it looks like he might be there, week 1, but GPG could be one, especially because we like that offense. We like that system of McVay. He's another one that I'd be like, okay, maybe, there's obviously some quarterback situations where I'm just like, yeah, I just don't want any part of any of it.
Yeah.
What I mean, do I really want the backup of New Orleans if it's Rattler or a Shuck? Right?
When the thing happens, do I actually even want the thing?
Yeah, right. Like, if they declare Rattler QB1 and he starts, do I really want Tyler Shuck? Like, I'm just asking the question here. That's all we do here on the mailbag. It's late night on a Saturday night. It's 9:30 for Ty. It's almost midnight up there. The guy's sipping on tea to try and keep himself up over here. It's
a little bean tea.
Yeah, he's sipping the opium tea over there trying to find some quarterbacks for his team. But I mean, that's the reality is like, how do we, as we start to get a little bit more clarity, like the conversation is going to circulate, especially in Cleveland now, right? With Joe Flacco and whoever is behind him, whether it's Dylan Gabriel, Kenny Pickett, Shadur Sanders, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think Shadur is clearly the QB3 at this point. I think he's going to need to do some work to kind of get to that QB2 spot still. But even still, like, once Shadur gets in, are folks even going to pay for him? And I think that's really the litmus test, right?
I think they will, Brandon.
Right?
I think those people that have Shador are going to pay for him, or if they don't have him and they believe him, I think they will. I truly do. As the same case with Milroe, right? Like those backup guys that we actually like that we just drafted. If something does happen early, people will pay for that. Brandon, we've seen how many quarters of Shador Sanders in preseason football? 1, 2?
I think it's 2 and some change.
2
and a drive.
We got 2 and some change, and we got people in our Discord asking, can I put a Shador in a second to get a first? Like, it will happen, man. Like, if the thing happens, it will happen, and people will be excited. Is it the right call? Time will tell. It's probably not going to be me making those, paying that kind of a price there. I will let you follow that experiment to its end.
And I think that goes back to the question that we started with, right? With the whole expectations of preseason hype and training camp. And how do you take advantage of it or not take advantage of it? And I think, there's folks that are, look at Monkey Pack right here. I'm super intrigued with Milroe, right? Which there's going to be a person in your league that's going to be intrigued with Milroe. And if he steps on the field, if Sam Darnold's out, like that's the litmus test for me, right? Is when these guys actually get to the opportunity, will people pay for that opportunity? Or will it just be, he's no different than Jake Browning, Ty. I can't really do anything. I'll just give you a third. Right? Like I agree with you. I think that Shadur, if he gets on the field and he gets on the field early.
Oh my God.
Sean's
right. I'm looking in the Heisman chat right now. Literally someone today spent a 2027 first. On Shador Sanders in a 10-team league, Brandon. Oh my God.
Like, I mean,
hit the air horn for that, man. Let's go.
I mean, I think it just is.
Like Charlie Brown's teach when you hit the sounder, it muffled out your voice, and you start talking like this.
Oh, gotta love technology sometimes. But I mean, hey, welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Right. No one's, I mean, yeah. No one's selling for a third. You had to use that current third to get drafted. I mean, that's the reality. Like, even when he was at 5th round pick and here we go. Like everybody's kicking in. Here comes the comments. I guess Shadur struck the nerve on folks. But the point being is like, it speaks to your points, Ty, right? Like Shadur is going to be that guy in this. He's not going to be Will Levis. Right? When Will Levis started and got the opportunity, people still were like, cool.
That dude puts mayo in his coffee. I'm not buying him.
Cool.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like Shadur's that guy that when he gets on the field, it's gonna be one of those things where, hey, I'm gonna pay for him. So Let's do. I've got a question. I'm going to pull up. It's not going to come up on the screen, but I'm going to give you the scenario, Ty. This is from one of our patrons. It's actually from Sean. So I know Sean's listening, so he's going to get this one.
Shouts out,
All right. So the trade is Joe Mixon, Baker Mayfield, 26 first and second for Justin Herbert, Malik Willis, Josh Jacobs, and a 2026 third. It's a 12x10 super flex, no points per carry, no tight end premium. I'll give you his team afterwards, but in the vacuum of 12x10 super flex, no PPC, no tight end premium, Joe Mixon, Baker Mayfield, a 26 first and second, not his, for Justin Herbert, Malik Willis, Josh Jacobs, and a 2026 third.
Okay. So you probably got to start that deal breaking it down, Baker versus Herbert, right? So I like to look at where startup ADP is, where we're at currently. I like to use Dynasty Data Labs. I think it's one of the quickest ways to kind of at least get my thoughts together on where players are going, what things are actually happening in real life here. So let's see. So Baker Mayfield is currently going in the middle of the 4th round, and Justin Herbert's going in the middle of the 3rd round. So that's probably a small plus on that. We saw Joe Mixon. Brandon, if you have Herbert and I sent you Baker Mayfield and Joe Mixon, are you hitting accept?
It'll be close, and I'm really big on Baker. But I think the whole Rashawn Slater thing maybe gives me a chance to pause on that thought. But I mean, it's probably a fair deal. Baker in a second, or Herbert. Like, most people will probably take Herbert.
Probably, but like, honestly, man, like if we're being real about what weekly outcomes will happen if they're both healthy, like, it's probably a wash. And if I can get any kind of plus, I'll take it. And I'm not even excited about Mixon. I think he could be a dud, especially in like the redraft mindset. But I'll take the Baker side of that, sure. So then we're talking Josh Jacobs, Malik Willis, and a third for a first and a second. I'm not sending my second away from Malik Willis and a third. That's not happening. And
I'm going to give you an additional piece of context for that first.
1% chance to make the playoffs. Here, Diaz called for it. I'll FBI, open up. Yeah, this is disgusting, Sean. This is really nice. If you're telling me that is not a team that's going to make the playoffs, yeah, that's a free second, my friend. That is a awesome deal for you. I really like that a lot.
Yeah, so the rest of his team, he's got Hurts. He would then have Hurts and Herbert. He would then have Josh Jacobs, DeAndre Swift, JT, some rookies, and any on the 53. He would have Jamar Chase, CD Lamb, Amon-Ra, Devontae Adams, Chris Godwin, and Wandale. He would have Freiermuth and Ertz, and he would have, he has some other picks. So
good God, yeah.
I mean, this is yeah, I mean, this is a well done, sir. Well done. That's taking advantage sometimes of the dynasty cycle of trading.
And that's where, again, I think the heart of it, right, is one, you're moving down at quarterback, but are you really? Right. And what kind of value can I get from that? Even if you want to say that's Baker in the second, if that's what some people will do, because Baker's old. Oh my God, right? He's about 30. Oh, 1 foot in the grave and 1 on a banana peel. But again, you talk about Rashawn Slater, right? Like that sucks. Right. If anything else happens there, you're saying that double sucks. Josh Jacobs, I think he could be great this season. He's still a running back on a 1-year bet. The fact that first is that heavy, even if that was a playoff first, I'm still on Sean's side. You're telling me that's a 1% chance of making the playoff team? Yeah, it's a smash.
Yeah, pretty easy for us to take a look at that one. So appreciate you, Sean, for bringing that one in. He's actually taking his own bow. So he's taking a bow for his deal.
Well deserved.
Here we go. I sold the Chisholm hype for a 3rd second swap. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you got. Like, that's the kind of stuff that is really going to be pretty frequent and pretty easy to do this time of year. Like, in these next 2 weeks right here, while guys are still in preseason hype, while they're still on rosters, because that's the other key. So they're all still on rosters. They're not getting waived yet. And it's good to see that a lot of them are actually playing early. Sometimes we see, various teams will do various things, right? Like Carolina played its starters today. Giants played like 2 series. Not every team's going to play the same amount. Like Dak Prescott did not play tonight. It was all Joe Whelan. We know what CD Lamb's going to do. He didn't play. So it's good to see these guys get opportunity for our dynasty squads, because it gives us an opportunity to see, hey, when they're given opportunity, how do they perform and how are we going to, utilize them?
You think about some of those leagues too we have where we expand the benches in the offseason and we still have those expanded benches. Man, if you can make those deals just to color up your picks with guys like an Efton Chisholm, guys who you can pick up the same thing on waivers throughout the entire year. You just open up a roster spot and making your pick better. That's the time. These are the deals to do right now. They're not sexy, right? But they pay the bills. So yes, I like it.
Yep. All right. I'm going to ask this. Big D has asked this question. It's a 2-part question. And I think it was designed for Scott, but I think, Ty, I believe you can answer this one just as well. Diaz asks, have we reached the point in Dynasty where we've become so over-analytical, so overreactive, and so overcorrective that roster construction theory or wide receiver saturation theory has now been replaced by chaos theory, which is just hoard assets and accept what the season gives you? So have we shifted in Dynasty to a point where we have just accepted chaos theory, which is just hoard assets and accept what the season gives you?
It's a good question. And I think both can be true, right? Because I think they play off each other. I'm thinking specifically from like the roster construction and like wide receiver that saturation side, right? Like, yes, to be able to take advantage of chaos, you should be at least have your team in the right spot to take advantage of that. So that means my roster construction should be sound, right? That just because I want to lean into chaos doesn't mean I'm loading up the back end of my rosters with Efton Chisholms. Like I still want to make sure that I'm still sound in my roster construction principles. And I still agree that there are so many wide receiver options. Every best ball draft I'm in, and I'm in one right now. So if you're in with me, please, earmuffs, don't listen to this. I just wait on wide receiver and then just load up on all these just crusty names and approach it with volume because it makes sense from a theory standpoint and roster construction. But also, yes, we have no sweet clue what's going to happen. Injuries suck, and it's a part of fantasy football, but it's reality. And each week brings things. Who would have predicted that Drew Lock would have probably won you your championship if you started him last year? Who would have thought that? So you have to be in a position to accept chaos, to have assets to use, to take advantage of things, to try to roll things over in a way that keeps you above the wave of chaos, I guess. But to do that, you have to have your roster construction, right? You have to have principles. But I also think, man, like, yes, we make things too complicated at times. Right? Like I don't want to be looking through prospect speed scores to make my decisions on what guy I'm going to be starting. That's where these utilization tools, I think that's where that helps to clear out the noise and cut through the chaos. The Trinity tracker, that's incredible, especially for early season on actually identifying these guys to make these bets on. I think like Fantasy Life's utilization tool. All right, when I was writing articles for DD, I was using that religiously, and I'm going to get back into it too. And it's just in season using those utilization tools. That's the beauty, because you can actually action some of this chaos. But again, you can't take full advantage of that unless your team is set up right and you have a plan, you have a process. So it goes hand in hand, Diaz. But it's a really good question. Like, do you think any differently on that, or any other points kind of come to mind when that question got raised, Brandon?
I mean, I do when I read it, I read it with Diaz's voice first off. I have, the Brandon, have we reached? It's like that. I can't do most of it right now because I have bronchitis right now, so I'm trying not to laugh because I'm going to cough. But I do think we have become a little bit over analytical at times. I would say at times we have become over analytical. right? Where we do rely a lot on data from places like, the Trinity Tracker and the utilization tool and some of the great articles, some of the great stuff that comes out on X, right? Because our psychology and our brain, and I'm trying to take your counseling degree here, right? Like, my wife's also a psychology major, right? But our psychological brains, right, when we see something, we begin to process that as fact, right? And opposed to, well, what does that piece of data really actually tell me, right? Like, there's a bunch of great charts that get posted on social media all the time during the season. And some of them are really helpful. And some of them are literally like, but what does this actually tell me? Because you're not the person behind the graph, but you see something and you see, ooh, this player's all the way up there in the top right quadrant alongside CD Lamb and Malik Neighbors. So I have to buy that player, right? Because they're over there, right? Right. And then you go look at some of the other tools. It's like, no, dude, that's like the worst thing to be looking at, right? So we do become over analytical. We do become overreactive because we watch a game or we watch a half of a. Think about every island game we watch.
I was just gonna say that, man.
Thursday
The
night
island
football,
games,
Sunday night football, Monday night
yeah.
football, those 3 island games. Like, when we watch those games and the morning after or the day after where we just, it's either the Shane Middle drive or it's, wake up
Mhm.
or it's somewhere else. It's just like we become so overreactive to the point where it's like, shoot, I got to go get that guy because if I don't get him now, I'm not going to be able to go get him once he spikes again. Like, I'm not going to want to pay a first for this guy that was already a third. Like, so I do think that we get to the point where we get too much of that, and I do
Mhm.
think that sometimes we do play the game of chaos and just let crap happen wherever it is. But I
Absolutely.
but I do think there is a point where sometimes we have to just stop and pause, take the information, and remember that it's also ultimately at the end of the day, it's it's us, the player. And that's nothing against any content creator. That's nothing against anything that we all do. At the end of the day, like, I can teach you how to use the Trinity tool. Ray can teach you. Ray is one of the best teachers that there is on the Trinity tool. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you're going to click the buttons on who to trade and who to, and you know what I mean? Like, I think we've gotten to a point where we've allowed ourselves sometimes to be influenced by our own communities to the point that we're just like, it's survival of the fittest. I'm just going to do this, and I'm just going to survive because I'm going to do whatever it takes to win. So I don't
Mhm.
think we've reached a point where we've become so all 3 of them, but there are points in the cycle of dynasty and in the cycle of the NFL season where we touch on almost each one of them to the point where we lead ourselves to chaos. And then we get to the point of maybe the off season or the draft where it's like, I need to hit the reset button on this team because if I don't do it anytime soon, it's just going to get really bad. Or you luck into a really gotta love it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it switched over to whatever the other mic is. You're on a roll too. Damn.
Well, why don't you ask the next question?
Sure.
There you go.
What's a good price for Breece Hall? I've gotten off for 26 first and Keon Coleman in my inbox. Well, thanks, River Rat 651. Yeah, but I am a Breece lover. I want a Breece stan. I sent a deal where the idea was to essentially pay a first for Breece, but pair it up with other stuff in the deal to get some other things done. I think I can try to pull that up, but I will take way too long to do that. The short answer here is there's a lot of people who will not send a single first for Breece Hall right now, right? It's the Jets offense. There's a Braylon Allen problem. He gets taken out on third down so far in the preseason. So, if he doesn't have that passing role in an offense that already has limited targets, what is that? So I know there's people who aren't going to be spending a first in general. You're telling me I get Keon Coleman there? Yeah, Shakir's injured right now. Probably should be back for the start of the season, but doesn't feel too great right now. Yeah, I mean, if Keon Coleman fits on your team, I'm happy to take a first in Keon. But what I would also say is, again, is that the best deal that anyone can offer? Is that a deal you have to accept today on your team? And does that deal move your team forward? I think so much we just asked this question, would you trade this guy for this guy? And I got this from Josh McAtee, right? Does this actually move your team forward? Like, what does this do for you? And if you can answer that, perfect. If you can't answer that, I want you to approach Dynasty with a why, because we have to have a why. We all think about this thing differently. We all have different valuations, and that's what makes fantasy football is so fun. But make sure that you have your why of why you're doing it. So if you do that deal, what's the plan with the first? What's the plan with Keon? And if you can give me an answer and it sounds like a sound plan, let's do it. But just have a plan.
Yeah, I mean, I would personally take the 26 first and Keon Coleman. I just feel like there's just too much smoke right now with the Jets offense. Tonight was a night where Isaiah Davis was in on pass down works, which, if Breece isn't going to get the early down rushing as much because they want to give him a little bit of a breather, but now he's all of a sudden possibly not even going to get that role. Like, yeah, people are going to get real uncomfortable real quick with Breece Hall. And if I could get 26 first, and I don't even think it really matters what format, Ty.
Not really.
Line out best ball. Like I can do with that first. I can go buy a running back that's going to give me production. And I got a free Keon Coleman out of it.
Maybe like a 10-by-8. I'll take Breece.
Yeah.
But
all right. Well, let's get to one. Let's get all these off the screen. That's the banner. Let's get out of that one. I got one question, and we're gonna get to the bold strategy or the bold question of the night.
Yeah.
You know it's coming.
Oh yeah.
But Big T asked me this question, and I was like, that's interesting. We're big on AI. There's a lot of AI going on out there. Have you used AI to help with researching for your squad, like in terms of just details? And then is it confirming biases or is it changing the way you look at fantasy football?
That's interesting. So I don't use AI a lot for fantasy football decisions or kind of structuring things. I think I could if I really wanted to. There's also a whole like economical and environmental impact of AI thing that I don't want to overuse it if I don't need to. But what I use AI for mostly is trying to get like YouTube video descriptions and titles for things. And what I really used it for when I interviewed for the job that I have right now, what I did is I took the job posting, I put that in there. I fed it a bunch of sample questions. I fed it some examples. I fed it my resume and I said, give me something that I can use for this interview format. And it gave me a bunch of examples. I've never been more prepared for an interview in my life. So AI is awesome in that way. For football, though, I mean, we just talked about it, man. Like, I also don't want to overcomplicate it. And I also know that unless you're paying for AI, you can also be dealing with outdated data. I don't want to be thinking about, I'm pulling all this up and it's talk about Le'Veon Bell. Well, I don't really want to do that. But so I don't personally use it for my fantasy football kind of strategy things, but I do think what I could use it for is, hey, can you take my portfolio of players and break it down by things so I can maybe see what I'm doing differently? Maybe there's a use for that. And, I might have to play around with that and apply it more. Do you use AI much, Brandon, for fantasy football?
I kind of use it the same way. Like when I'm thinking about like maybe a description for a show or just the way I would want to lay a show out. Like if, I'm asking quite like I'll sometimes like throw questions in there, right? Sometimes the questions that I ask, not the group asks, but the questions that I ask, I'll throw them through AI just to kind of make sure that A, it makes sense, but then B, maybe there's a different way of saying it or phrasing it. Cause a lot of things in life is about how we phrase it, right? I have a rule. My dad always used to say, it's not always what you say, but how you say it. Right. And sometimes you can get your point across in a different way. That maybe is it demeaning or is it a more positive light than a negative light, or you don't think about it when you say a question, but it could come off a little differently. But I don't use AI for like trying to figure out like injury history or, statistics on a player, because it may pull up somebody that wasn't, I'm looking for Eddie Lacy stats and I'm getting Trent Richardson stats. Like, right. I don't want to be, there's enough tools out. Again, there's enough tools out there that are free that I can just do a simple Google search, and I can probably find it just as fast as the AI. Where the AI is probably more utilized and more best for is in a situation like Ty talked about, like where you're really trying to enhance, a line of questioning or a line of answers where, you're just trying to carefully craft what you want responded to. So I don't necessarily think it's from that perspective. I think there is use for AI. I just don't know. I don't know how it really fits in the grand scheme of things, but some people really do like it. So I'm not going to poo-poo on
AI
those
could
folks.
Also advance, which it will, right? And when that happens, maybe there will be more uses for it, and I'm open to it for sure, right? But yeah, I think we also have a ton of we have DD Fantasy Football, Player Profiler, Dynasty Data Labs, Dynasty Daddy, there's so many good actual spots right now that I don't need to use that, but it could come a way that maybe that does simplify things. Hell, if I could use AI to make my waiver claims, I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, seriously. Can I use AI to spam trade everybody?
Oh yeah.
I mean, and maybe that's the way it's utilized, maybe in a better way, because I've seen this, because I'm not gonna name names, but there are folks that I know that have utilized the AI to help them enhance their trade block requests.
Oh,
to try, hey, you're laughing because you know exactly what it was, right? But we were both in the same league, and somebody utilized ChatGPT to enhance the way that their traits sounded, right? And it made it very enticing to the point where yeah, maybe I do need that backup tight end. I don't need him, but it makes it sound better, right? Like it phrases it better. So maybe that's the way that AI will evolve, is that it'll actually do that. But all right, Ty, we're closing in on the hour, which means we're almost at the end of our time. I've done this with every guest so far this summer, so a question is coming because I know you've been hanging out in the chat. So, Ty, what is your bold prediction for the 2025 season? Now, I'm not going to let you get off the hook like I let Scott, because Scott just kind of went a little. He had a very, very wide net on his bold prediction. But past bold predictions have been CeeDee Lamb will win the Triple Crown. A Rich will be a fantasy viable asset, and there will be multiple quarterback tight end combos that will ascend. Ty, what is your bold prediction?
What a cop out bold answer by Scott. Come on, man.
It's a very on brand Scott Connor question.
Yeah.
I left it open to interpretation, so this is not Scott's fault. It's Braden's fault.
All right. Well, I'm going to lean into bold. I'm going to be bold with my answer. Okay. And the reason it's bold is because things have to happen, probably both in front of him and behind him, for this reality to come true. My bold prediction is that by the end of the 2025 season, and I had to hold on to this while I went through my 3 guys. I'm all the way in. I had to bite this. I had to wait till now. I believe that by the end of the 2025 season, TJ Hawkinson will be a solidified top 3 tight end option in Dynasty. That offense, man, it would be a bet on JJ McCarthy being a rookie quarterback and be able to bring that offense forward. It's a bet on an offensive line that has 3 new linemen on the inside and 2 tackles. Hopefully, what's his name is fully healthy, and the offensive line is good. If Justin Jefferson, if that hammy lingers a little bit, right? Just what happens there? Addison is Addison. He's suspended to start the start of the year, man. Just think back to Hawkinson when he first went to the Vikings. He was getting all the red zone targets, man. He was being used on 3rd downs. And think about what's good for a rookie quarterback is that easy button option. And I think if TJ Hawkinson can get healthy and that offense can be clicking and JJ McCarthy can be competent as, I guess, a second-year quarterback now, I think that TJ Hawkinson can ascend. And again, what else has to happen? Well, I'm assuming Brock Bowers and McBride are still going to be Brock Bowers and McBride. It would have to take Kittle doing his thing, but also just being an aging tight end. It would have to take Laporta and that offense maybe just morphing and changing, and maybe Laporta goes back to early season 2024 Laporta. And really it would be what does Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren do? Do they ascend, or does TJ Hawkinson? So I think that when we're going into the offseason, we're going to be looking and we're going to say, okay, well, I need to get one of these 3 tight ends, and one of those 3 is going to be TJ Hawkinson.
Well, there you have it, folks. TJ Hawkinson, top 3. Very bold take. Some
you said bold.
Hey,
I gave you bold.
I think the chat will be very comfortable with that bold take. Some may even be already in that camp with you. But it's going to be interesting to see over the season what happens with that. But that ends tonight's Saturday Night Mailbag show. Thank you, Ty, for graciously jumping on as a host or co-host for tonight. Ty, tell people where they can find you and what are you up to over the next couple of weeks now here as we get deep into the preseason.
Yeah, so you can find me on X at TyDeclare44, really any social media. If you put in TyDeclare44, you're probably going to find me. You can find me on the All Gas Trade Show with my Goomba, Gabe Garcia. You can find me on the Dynasty Deal Show with Shane and Scott every Friday in the members only stream. We have a lot of fun on those shows. They drop on Tuesdays for everyone, but we really enjoy the chats and then the trades we get to go through. So it's going to be popping in season. So I would really hope everyone can get in there. But yeah, you can find me there. Next week, I'm going off to the cottage. So I'll have to probably drive home to do some my streams next week and then probably go back to the cottage again. I'm also going to the this is not really the next couple weeks, but I am going to the Chiefs Buffalo game in November in Buffalo. So that's going to be a heck of a time for my first NFL game ever. I played football for over 16 years. I've been a football fan all my life. This is my first NFL game. So make that one make sense.
Hey, listen, football games are fun. They're fun atmosphere. You're going to one that's going to be quite a bit. Programming note: I'll be back in 2 weeks, and I can announce that our friend Mitch from the Dynasty Theory crew will be stepping into the seat next to me. So make sure that you get your questions in, whether that's online, over on X, over the DDFFB page, or one more final plug into patreon.com/allgas and or ddfantasyfootball.com. Let's continue the conversations that we had tonight. We're going to continue them over there in the Discord this week. We're going to have a good time. We're getting ready for the season. Ty and I were just talking back offline right before this. Like there's a lot of content that's going to start happening. We got a lot of dudes that are ripping and raring for the season. Make sure you tap in. Make sure you tap into the All Gas Trade Show. Make sure you tap into the Destination Chill and Wake Up and all the different content that's going on. Like the Wake Up crew and the Dynasty Theory guys are going to break down all of things week one. We haven't even talked about, Ty, college starts in 2 weeks. Like, God. We're going to start.
We made it, people.
We've made it.
All
right. We've made it through the hard parts, right? We just got to get through a couple more of those tough things. But make sure you like and subscribe. I think we're almost right at the 6,000 sub mark. So if you guys can hit that subscribe, it helps us out, helps us grow, helps everybody understand why we do what we do. But until next time, take care. We're out. Peace.